Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Disney Resorts Podcast. My name is Kenny Hayes, and I am joined alongside, as always, by the one, the only, Walt Ramirez.
Hey, everybody.
So in this week's episode, we are going to be discussing Walt's most recent trip to Walt Disney World, where he did a split stay. He started off his adventure at Pop Century Resort, and then he moved his way over to the Yacht Club for his first time. He also stayed club level at Yacht Club, and he'll be getting into detail momentarily about that. Then he will give us a first-hand review of the newest ride attraction at Epcot, Cosmic Rewind. We will then, before we end this week's show, we're going to do a food review over at the Rick's Sports Bar and Grill, located over at Coronado Springs. And if we have enough time, we'll wrap up with what we currently miss at Walt Disney World. So, Walt, you started off, correct me if I'm wrong, you started your Disney adventure over at Pop Century Resort.
That's correct.
Let us know your thoughts.
We started out at Pop Century, really late check-in because unfortunately we had all kinds of travel issues leaving Newark Airport again out of New Jersey into Orlando. So we were hoping to get into Pop Century in the early afternoon. We wound up not checking in until almost midnight. So we ended up losing an afternoon. But Pop Century is it's a fun resort. It's a resort that we've stayed at before. I've really enjoyed it. It's got a great food court, a lot of selections. And you know, it's one of those moderate resorts that it gives you a feel. The rooms are small, obviously, but they're very well maintained and they're updated. So you don't feel like you're staying in like a motel room. We had a brief stay there for only like a day and a half, and then we ended up over at Yacht Club. But we had a great room at Pop Century. We were at a corner room facing the pool near the main building. So I was a little upset having to leave so soon.
Now, were you upset because you had to leave so soon and pay a lot more over at Yacht Club, or?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Ironically, I didn't even realize that I had a club level room until I got there, because I had been so busy with work and with a lot of other things going on that when I booked the room, I didn't even notice that it was a club level room. We ended up getting the room using the 25% off annual pass holder discount. So the room rate wound up being very close to what a normal room at Beach Club and Yacht Club is. So I didn't put two and two together thinking that it was a club level room. And when we checked in, at the front desk, they were like, "Oh, well, we'll take you upstairs." And I was like, "What do you mean you're taking me upstairs?" So they actually take you upstairs and show you how to access the fifth floor, which is you have to use your magic band on the elevator to get up to the fifth floor. And so she showed us how to do that, which was very nice. And once we got upstairs, I was pretty surprised at the amenities that are available up there.
So this was your first time staying club level anywhere at Walt Disney World, correct?
Yes.
And I know some of the pictures you sent me, and over the next few days, we'll be uploading them to our Instagram and Facebook pages. The club level, is that open 24/7? And I know even if it is, it's probably limited between certain hours overnight, but.
No, it's open from, I believe, 7 a.m. to 11.
Okay.
And then the the actual lounge itself has different times of the day where they switch over from a breakfast to like a snack period during the middle part of the day, and then to like early evening where it gives you more of a like a light dinner.
Okay, that's cool.
And then it gives you a desserts after, I believe, 7 p.m. And there's, which I think I sent you photos of the candy. There's candy jars in the hallway that are accessible during the entire day. So there's like Starbursts, Lifesavers. I think there's mints in the other one. I don't remember, but it was just kind of like a little cute little add-on as you walk by that you could always reach in and grab some candy.
So let me ask you this. In regards to the club, say for breakfast, lunch, dinner, is there enough there of substance that you could skip and not go out to a restaurant at night and save a couple bucks if you so choose?
Yeah, absolutely. If you are not, for breakfast for sure, you could definitely save money on breakfast. It's a large variety continental breakfast. They change actually every day, so they didn't have the same thing any of the days I was there. The first day they had an omelet. The second day was more of like a scrambled eggs with I think there were mushrooms mixed in or some other vegetable. And the third day, I think it was just like oatmeal, grits, pancakes. They did have Mickey waffles the one day. There's fruit, pastries, toast, a tremendous coffee bar. If you're a coffee drinker, they had flavored coffees. They had a cappuccino machine. Yes. Yeah, I know you would have been in heaven. I thought of you immediately. That's why I sent you a picture of it, because I said, well, Kenny's going to be drooling when he sees this picture. So they definitely, for breakfast, you could save money without a doubt. For lunch, not so much. I mean, mostly snacks. For dinner, if you had a big lunch, or if you were by the pool and you had a burger or something, and you want to just go back to the room and snack on a few things, there's enough there that you're not going to be starving. You could definitely skip dinner, and the desserts are phenomenal. So
they looked it from the pictures you sent
either
me.
way. Yeah, they also have beer and wine, and I don't recall the exact times. I think it was between 5. I'm going to say 5 and 7. Okay. Where you could sample a large variety of wines. So if you were back in the room getting ready for dinner, you wanted to just go have a couple glasses of wine before dinner, or if you wanted to just stay there and have some wine and have some snacks, it's definitely something that I think you could save money and not go out to dinner.
That's good.
By eating there. Matter of fact, I spoke to a few people there that were actually doing that, and they were quite happy with it. So
let me ask you.
It depends. I mean, if you're looking forward to like a big dinner and you're looking forward to going to Le Cellier or something like that, then obviously that's not going to be your thing. But.
So let me ask you, because you previously stated earlier that you booked club level by accident. So now, by experiencing club level, would you do it again? Is it worth what you received out of it?
It's worth it if I were to get the 25% discount, not the full. I wouldn't pay the full rate for that level. With the discount, I think it's worth it. I did get a very, very bad room view. I ended up with a view of the roof and some tree line. So the view was terrible, but it was so hot that I really wasn't interested in sitting out on the balcony anyway. I would say for the normal rate, which is, I believe, around like between like $490 and like $550, somewhere in that ballpark. per night. I would stay there again.
Good.
But the club level view, I think, was booking for about $780 a night.
Wow.
And at $780 a night, I would want a pool view if I was going to stay there. And if I wasn't going to get the pool view, then I wouldn't stay there. Because the room that I had, if I had paid $780 a night, I would have complained.
One thing I thought about when you were sending me all the pictures over the week you were there is that, myself being a DVC member, I wonder if, like someone like me, the next trip I'm staying on points, would they allow you a certain fee to access the club level, whether you're at Boardwalk, whether you're at Yacht or Beach? I wondered that. I got to look that up. And if you're listening to us and you know the answer to that, whether on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, shoot us a comment and let us know, because I honestly don't. And everything I saw, it's like a bucket list item of I would like to try it once and just say I did it.
Well, just fork over the money. Yeah. Come on, Ken.
Listen, she wants me to sell DVC now.
Learn how to spell Bob Chapek and write out a check to Bob Chapek, care of Walt Disney World.
No,
all right, and just stay at one of those rooms. Listen, it's nice. Do what I did. Hey, do a split stay.
I've done split stays, and we'll have to get into that shortly about how we feel about them. All right, so good. You would do club level again if you could get a room on a discounted rate. That's good to know. So let me ask you this. Yacht Club was very recently refurbished, basically the entire resort. Mm-hmm. The rooms you sent me, and I apologize to our listeners and viewers out there, we tried getting it uploaded, and my phone and the computer was not cooperating this evening. So we'll post them on our Instagram and Facebook. The pictures you sent me, Walt, the room looks absolutely beautiful. I mean, it looks spot. It is everything I like in the decor. I'm a shore person. I spend my summers down the Jersey Shore. It's right down my alley. And I am very upset being a DVC member that I can't experience Yacht Club because it's not part of the villas. What was your thoughts on the room itself, the decor, the condition of it, etc.?
I agree with you. The rooms were phenomenal. The decor is just, right. Like you said, it's for somebody who enjoys that type of decor. Excellent. The hardwood floors throughout the room, in the bathroom area. Well, the bathroom had tile, but the area where the sink is also had the laminate floor. The room is just very well done, classy. That's really the best word to describe Yacht Club. Clean. As you've previously mentioned on other shows, it had a Keurig. Nice. It's a very well done, clean room, crisp room. The way they have the decor laid out. I really enjoyed it. I think it's well done. Now, is it comparable to Beach Club? Obviously, different decor, different theming, but about the same, I would say. I don't think other than the theming, I don't think there's a difference in terms of quality between the two hotels. So
let me ask.
I was happy.
So let me ask you this: since you of course you played cash. How was the room service? Was the room service back to daily like it was supposed to be going back several months ago? Good.
Yes, it was phenomenal.
Nice.
Yeah, that was the other thing I noticed with Yacht Club. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that we were on club level. The room was cleaned every day. The beds were made every day. The towels were fresh every day. So that was a nice feature to have, to come back to the room and your bed was made and your towels were fresh and your garbage was emptied. In fact, the one day when we came back from the parks, we were actually coming back to the room and they were just walking out of the room after having cleaned it.
Good.
Staff was phenomenal, very friendly, and it was the same people that you saw every day, so you kind of got to know them. Huge difference. Now, again, is it because we're back to the old regular cleaning, or post COVID, or is it just because of the floor I was on? I can't answer that. I don't know. At Pop Century, I wasn't there long enough to get a cleaning because I was literally only there for like a day and a half. So we definitely didn't get a towel service that day that I was there, or the following day. But yeah, I would say that from my last stay at Beach Club to this stay at Yacht Club, there is definitely a difference in the room service.
Well, that's good, because you and I, when we were there together in April, of course, granted, I was staying on points with the DVC side, and I jinxed myself because I said they always do my towels and that didn't happen. And you were saying over when you stayed at Beach Club, you didn't get it every day either, correct? Back in April.
Correct.
But that's good to know. And like you said, we don't know. Listen, even if you weren't staying club level, when you're paying those prices for a deluxe resort, and we are now unofficially on the better side of COVID, like it should be going back to cleaning the rooms every day. If they're going to charge us that much, it's not like they're discounting the room saying, hey, Walt, we're going to take 15% off the room because we're not going to clean it every day. It's going to be once every second or third day. Then you could sit there and say, well, okay, I got a deduction in what I'm paying because I'm getting less of a service. Okay, I understand that. But we're well removed from the last 2 years. Parks are at, I guess you would say, the new capacity. Clean the rooms every day. When you're paying what you're paying, whether you're club level or not, the room should be cleaned every day. But I am very happy to hear that you had room service each and every day.
And I could prove it to you that I had the room service because I was able to acquire extra Keurigs for Kenny to bring home.
Yes, he did.
So every day I would hide the Keurigs in my sock drawer and then get a replenishment of new Keurigs. So I could, I forgot how many I brought home for you, but I was able to get quite a yeah.
So I have to thank Walter because
I took a page.
Go ahead.
I took a page out of your book. I was
just going to say that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. They're like, that guy drinks a lot of coffee. Because Walter was very nice enough to bring home, we're big Skyliner fans, and they had the Skyliner popcorn bucket that he was able to bring home as a gift for us. Oh, and there's his right there. So I was gifted one of those, and inside I had a secondary gift, which was a bunch of the 50th anniversary Keurig pods from the Yacht Club. So, all right, I am glad, Walt, that you stayed. And when I return to Disney, and we'll talk about it in some upcoming episodes, I have a future trip now planned.
But I have a disappointing news for you. Still no pens and still no pads at the phone.
Ridiculous.
So I couldn't steal any pens for you this time around.
But we will be checking out. I know I'm staying DVC, but in some previous episodes, I said I was going to be taking a trip to South Carolina in August to Hilton Head Resort. That has been changed. We are now going back to Walt Disney World, staying at the Boardwalk Villas, coming at the end of August. So we'll have that in store for you. I was also able to acquire, while I was down there, I was very fortunate, Moonlight Magic at Animal Kingdom. So we'll bring you some content from that as well. But so moving on, unless, Walt, do you have anything else you want to talk about with Yacht Club before we move on?
Not really. I mean, I think we covered the lounge. I think that overall, the Yacht Club Resort itself is, I would give it a thumbs up. I would definitely highly recommend for someone to get that experience to stay there. I mean, obviously, if you're not staying at club level is fine, but anywhere there, I think it's a little bit of a different atmosphere
Agreed.
than Beach Club. It's more subdued. It's more. I would say it's more of an adult resort. Not to say that the Beach Club isn't, but Beach Club, there are a lot more kids. I felt like the Yacht Club, there weren't as many kids, little kids, as there were over at the Beach Club side. So if you're looking for a little bit quieter vacation with the same amenities of having access to Stormalong Bay and having access to Epcot and to the Skyliner, Yacht Club might be a good alternative for you to consider.
And like everyone said, that whole side, Yacht Club, was recently refurbished. And right before we move along, we were talking about before we started taping tonight, when they redid the lobby as well. I think the lobby is very elegant looking, but it is more subdued. It is darker, Walt, like you said when we were talking pre-show. But I just think it, like I said, it has a little more of an adult vibe. It's that darker colors, more elegant. I personally, it is my taste, and I think they did a phenomenal job over there. Phenomenal.
I agree. Yeah, when I first walked in, I thought the power was out. I was like, "What's going on?" And then I realized, okay, yeah, there's a reason for it. So it is very subdued.
All right. So with wrapping up that segment, we are going to head over to Walt. Was very fortunate, not once, not twice, but 3 times. He was able to ride Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. So I'm going to turn it over to Walter for a full review of this particular ride because it is the most popular as we speak. So what did you think of it, Walt?
It's just tremendous. But for me, it's now the number one ride at Disney World. My number one ride was Avatar, and it's been supplanted now by Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just a different experience for roller coaster fans. It's got a really great soundtrack. So if you're if you're a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, you would get and understand the soundtracks that are on the ride. It's very smooth. A lot of people describe it that way, but if you ride it, you really get a feel for how smooth it is. It doesn't have the jerkiness that a rock and roller coaster or some of the other coasters have. It is a lap bar, so you're not going upside down. You're turning slightly as it goes through the process of the ride. The backwards part of the ride, which was receiving a lot of fanfare and people were a little nervous about, I didn't feel was any big deal at all. It's not even comparable to Everest at all, going backwards, because you're not launching backwards. The ride starts out going forward for a bit, and then it turns you to go backwards. And when it does, then it turns you back into the ride itself. So the actual cars feel like it feels like you're on in an individual car, as opposed to a traditional roller coaster where you're all linked together. It's worth it. I ended up paying Lightning Lane. I paid the first time I rode it, I was able to get a virtual queue after 1 o'clock. Well, 1 o'clock was much easier than the morning. I wasted good sleep time getting up at 7 a.m. I know you like to get up early. I prefer not to. And that was a waste of time. It was very frustrating to be up early and then not get it. So at 1:00, we were able to get it, and it wound up not. We didn't get on the actual ride until about 7:30, 8:00 in the evening, which did cut into our dinner plans that night. But we really wanted to ride the ride and experience it, so we kind of curtailed our dinner for that night. The second time I rode it, I purchased Lightning Lane for it. It was $17 per person, so $34 for my wife and I to ride.
It was worth it.
Guardians of the Galaxy. By normal standards, you would say that was outrageous because you have an annual pass and you paid for a park admission and you're still paying $34 to ride one ride.
It's
but
that good.
For this ride, I will tell you that I would do it every time.
Wow.
So that's how good it is. Now, hopefully Bob Chapek didn't hear that because then he's going to decide that he's going to, do this for every ride. But it's that good. The third time I rode it was also after 1:00. I was not fortunate enough to get it during the extra magic hours for the resort that I was staying at. There was extra magic at the Yacht and Beach Club for the one night from 6, I believe, or no, I'm sorry, from 9 to 11 at Epcot. And the virtual queue opened up for those resorts at 6 p.m. I was on there at 5:58 and I was still unable to get it. And I thought for sure I would have gotten it because there were a lot less people trying to access the virtual queue because it was only people that were staying at those resorts could access it. So I didn't get it, but I was able to ride it a third time. The only part of the ride that I will say I found unusual is the queue itself. There are rooms that open up that I would compare them to the Haunted Mansion room where you kind of fill a room, the doors close,
all available
there's a little
space.
pre-show, and then it opens up into another room where now you're talking about several hundred people funneling into an area where you're basically merging into like two lines, and they're not defined. So it's just like a cattle herd of people just merging into this, and it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. I think they need to really rethink that and come up with a better system, especially even with the COVID protocols have been relaxed somewhat. Even with that in mind, it still doesn't make a lot of sense to not take some safety precautions and not have people so clumped together, especially coming out of a room where there's really no way to really like understand what's going on, because there's no signage, you're just following a herd of people, and I think that needs to change. But getting past that part of it, the ride itself, like I said, I would recommend it. It's worth it, every bit of it. It's like I said, the best ride in Disney World right now by far.
Is Flight of Passage even a close second?
It is. It's a different kind of ride because Flight of Passage is more of a virtual, type of a ride. It's not a coaster. The visual aspects of Avatar, of Flight of Passage, are superb. That makes the entire ride. It's not so much the motion of that ride, but it's what you're actually visually seeing on that ride that makes that ride. Whereas with Guardians of the Galaxy, it's the actual coaster itself, some of the visual that you're seeing, but the combination of that and the music and the ride is outstanding. I had, for my first experience, Earth, Wind, and Fire, the song September. that was the first experience I had, and that made the ride for me. I hope that I get that song every time. The other 2 times I actually did not. I apologize because I don't have the title of the song, but I will retrieve it for you. That I had the second time there, but the music also makes that ride as well. So again, I know, Ken, you're not a fan of. Oh, and by the way, for all of those folks out there who read all of the hyperbole about barf bags and vomiting and motion sickness, and got scared off of that ride, I can tell you, I saw one person who was an elderly person who probably shouldn't have gone on the ride in the first place, who probably got themselves worked up unnecessarily. Unless you are super sensitive to motion, and I mean super sensitive, like if you set foot on a boat for like 2 minutes and you throw up, then you shouldn't go on this ride. Otherwise, you shouldn't have an issue with this ride. It's not intense. It's not, by no means, it's nowhere near as intense as Rock and Roller Coaster or Everest for that matter. There's no big drops in this ride. It feels like you're floating the whole time. And like I said to Ken earlier, if you shut the music off, I don't think that ride is so quiet and so smooth that I don't think you could even hear yourself on the track. That's how smooth that ride is. It feels like you're floating, or like you're literally sliding on a piece of ice or glass. That's how smooth it is. So again, don't get yourself worked up about it. It's not that intense. You really, it doesn't spin you around, so you're not going. It's not like teacups.
What's wrong with teacups?
You're not going to be throwing up. I don't shortchange yourself on that experience because you think you might get sick. Because to me, if you experience that, you're like, wow, this ride is as good as advertised. Hopefully Tron will be as good also down the road, but right now the number one contender and undisputed, in my opinion, is Cosmic Rewind Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, I know you like it, Walt. For you to say you love it, you rode it 3 times. You paid the additional money. You didn't care you paid the additional money. And you would do it again, and you would pay the additional.
Bob, I did not say that. I am very
sorry, Bob. Bob, just don't listen to Walt.
Very budget conscious. I would not do that again.
But that's good to know, though. I am hesitant. It took me years. I am not a big ride person. I do some of the roller coasters at Disney. I unfortunately I suffer from I have vertigo pretty well, so that is my hang up with going on this and trying it, because once it does set off, it takes me a while to kind of get my bearings back, and I don't want to be down there on vacation and have to spend half the day in a room because everything's spinning. But yeah, I mean, the pictures you sent me, some of the videos that we've already posted up on our Instagram, even like that show that you saw in the queue, that was cool. But like you said, though, you compared it a lot to Haunted Mansion, where they put you in this room, and now it's back to all available space, like you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, you kind of come out of the room just like Haunted Mansion, and a herd of people just kind of funnel, into a very narrow hallway. And I don't know why they do that. But we're not Imagineers, though.
Especially because the queue itself is a long queue. It's kind of reminiscent of Star Tours, where it's like a narrow walkway and it kind of winds around for a while, and it takes you through a few different like models of the ship. But then once it leads you into that main room, it turns into like it's just a gigantic group of people. I think they really needed. I understand the load factor in that probably factored into their mindset. They're trying to get as many people on there and through as quickly as possible. But I just think that if this had been a year ago, they would have been having monumental problems with
Agreed.
it, because the safety protocols would have been shot. They would, you would have had like 6-hour waits for this ride, because if you had to social distance in there, forget it.
It'd be nearly impossible.
It wouldn't work. Yeah, it would be impossible.
But that's why I was curious, because that's one of the first things I asked you was, leading up to you getting on, all these Disney media outlets were reporting that they put out additional trash cans when you exited the ride, and all these people were getting sick, and they're handing out, I would say barf bags to people, and I think it might have scared a lot of people off. Now it could have just been luck of the draw the 3 times you went on, but like you said, the 3 times you went on, only one person you could see was visibly shaken up from the ride. So,
and I did not see a single cast member handing out vomit bags. Not a single cast member was anywhere. In fact, there wasn't a single cast member anywhere near the exiting part of the ride, so that if in fact someone were to have gotten off and feeling sick, they would have had to have ran to one of those garbage cans, because there was no one around handing any bags out. So I'm thinking that may have happened initially, and now it's sort of subsiding a little bit, because if in fact that were the case, you would have still seen cast members there, and there was no one there the 3 times I rode it, and I rode it 3 different days. So it wasn't like, okay, maybe somebody was off today and they weren't here. But so no, I like I said, I saw one lady who probably shouldn't have ridden it. And that seemed like she had gotten sick from it. But again, this isn't like anything new, because people get sick on other rides. I've seen stories where people are still getting sick coming off of, Soarin', or, some other ride that you would say to yourself,
you get motion
how
sickness.
Is that possible? So, yeah.
Right. So Walter has officially announced that Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is the best ride at Walt Disney World property. Do you swear to it, Walt?
I do. I challenge anybody to tell me different on that. I know there's going to be a lot of people that have favorite rides. I have favorite rides. But if you're fair about it and you say, okay, which ride right now is the best experience, this is it. And Avatar is still, it's a close second. But this ride, hands down, right now, is the best ride on property.
And I go with your review, because you are the ride guy. So if you're saying it's good, then it's good. So on your next Walt Disney World trip, make sure you get that virtual queue and check out Cosmic Rewind over at Epcot. So,
and we will start a GoFundMe page for Ken. We're going to we want to raise enough money to get Ken on that ride. So we don't have a dollar amount yet as to what would motivate Ken to get on there. But if it gets high enough, I think we can get him on. So just keep that in mind.
If I didn't get it on, we would donate it to charity.
We'll just get you a gigantic Glad bag to barf into when you come off.
That's what scares me. That's what scares me. Oh, God. I'll get sick on the teacups. All right, so we'll wrap up that segment of the show, and we're going to head over for this week's episode of our dining review, which is going to take place over at Rick's Sports Bar and Grill, which is located over at Disney's Coronado Springs Resort. Now, Walter and I dined together over there back in April, so we'll discuss that. Walter, last week when he was in Disney, he also, him and his wife, dined there as well. So if you're watching us over on YouTube right now, we have a quick overview of Rick's. Here we go. I got to say though, Walt, looking at this, I I liked the decor, the layout of Rick's. I would definitely go there again.
Yeah, it's a really fun place to go have lunch. There are numerous televisions throughout the place, so if you're a baseball fan, you're going to be able to catch a game that you want to watch, or even during football season, you can catch your favorite team. Fun place to go if you're there, say, for example, on a Monday night, catch some Monday night football game. You're familiar, obviously, with this resort. It's a very classy, very well done resort. So, again, it's a place that's a little bit out of the beaten path to get to.
Yes.
Because people feel like Disney Springs and City Works is easier access than having to go into a resort. But I think the Rick's doesn't get as much love as it should. It is now you mentioned I had dinner there. I had a very late dinner there. I wouldn't recommend it. And it's not to say that it's not a good place to have a late dinner, but for me personally, I prefer having lunch there. It's a different atmosphere. It's a little bit livelier. And, for me, I felt like it's more of a lunch menu than a dinner menu. But I don't know how you felt about that as well.
I got to say, well, when you and I dined there in April, correct me if I'm wrong, we both had, it was just pictured, the meatloaf sandwich with waffle. I had waffle fries. You had the macaroni and cheese. And grading it and comparing it, let's all remember, it is a sports bar. It's not Citrico's. It's not Le Cellier. I thought it was very good. The meatloaf sandwich was very good. The service was very good. Like I said, you had the meatloaf as well. One of us, I believe it was our mother-in-law, had the Caesar salad. Then there was, I believe your wife had the turkey sandwich, and my wife had the chicken sandwich. Yes. And all five of us had high praise for lunch. And that's where we went. We went for lunch back in April. And when all five of us walked out of there, we had high praise. And that was my first time dining there. Stayed at Coronado. I think Coronado is a great resort. I think it's underrated. And I think it's underrated because, well, we've talked about it, being a little more corporate. It's a little out of the way. But it was a great call. That was your pick. You booked the reservations for there, and I would definitely do it again for lunch. I have not dined there at night, but I would take Walt's word for it that if you want to definitely try it out, especially try it out during the day, take it up for lunch. But everything we had, from the chicken sandwich to the turkey sandwich to the meatloaf sandwich to the Caesar salad, was very good. I would say I'm rating this 1 through 10, and it don't scale it. This is scaled on like a bar, grill, restaurant. I'd probably say around I would say a 7. Because like I said, for what I had, it was very good. And the service was very good. So, and that's the only thing I've tried so far. But so if you're a meatloaf fan, definitely check it out. What do you think, Walt?
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I think 7's a fair number. Quality of the food was good. The lunch was good. The drinks, they have a very good beer selection. So, a lot of TVs, a lot of sports going on. You can really have a fun, relaxing afternoon. If you're looking for something other than going into the parks and sweating and putting up with crying kids, you can have a nice, relaxing afternoon at the Rick's, watching your favorite sports team, and have a couple of adult beverages and some pretty good sandwiches. I would definitely recommend it for a lunch place. My wife and I went there a late night for dinner, and that it didn't have the same atmosphere that it had during the day, and I think it's just because of the day I went and the staffing issues that were going on perhaps that day. So it's not a knock against the Ricks. Was just probably a bad day for me to go. The food quality was still good, but again, definitely recommend it for a lunch if you're in that area. Maybe coming back from Animal Kingdom and you want to stop somewhere, have a couple of beers and have some sandwiches. That's a really good place to stop.
I agree. So before we wrap up this week's show, we're going to continue with what we currently miss at Walt Disney World. Walt, would you like to go first?
Sure. So in the early 2000s, when my wife and I first started, we actually went to Disney in 2000 for the first time. And I really fell in love with a parade in Epcot. It was called the Tapestry of Nations Parade. It was I guess you could say it was a festival of all of the countries. It was a parade with stilt walkers, and the music still played to this day, actually, in Epcot, I think after the fireworks, if I'm not mistaken, right before they closed the park down. But it was just a fun parade. I remember it because when my mom first started going with us, the first few trips, she really enjoyed it. And it was one of those things that stuck with me personally, because I felt like it was one of those things she enjoyed and made a connection with her. So it's a parade that also, if you recall, it involved each country, where kids during the day would have little stations at each country where they would make or draw signs or color handheld signs. And then during the parade route, they could bring those out to the characters who were walking through the parade route. So it was a way to get the kids involved, because I guess at the time during that era, there weren't a lot of things for little kids to do at Epcot. So that was one of the things that got kids involved. And it's just the parade itself was, it's one of those songs that sticks in your head. And as you know, because we've talked about this, where you look forward to the TV in the hotel room because they play that Disney music that you get accustomed to. And this was the same thing. It was one of those parade songs that just stuck in your head. And they did away with it. I don't remember what year they eliminated it, but it was probably like around maybe 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. I might be off, but yeah, they did away with it pretty quickly. And I think it just had to do with, it became an issue, I think, because of the food booths that were in Epcot and the traffic that the parade would cause. So I think that became a problem. So I guess they eliminated it, but it's something that I really enjoyed. At the end of the evening or right before the fireworks, I remember going to Rose and Crown for dinner, and right before going there, I would always watch the parade and then go over to have dinner and watch watch Illuminations. So, which, hey, that could be the other thing that I miss.
Save that one. Put that in your pocket.
I think I might have already done that anyway.
You could do it again because that show was that good. What I miss is this was lost during the COVID era, was whether you were shopping at Disney Springs, you were at another resort, you were in the parks, you were able to purchase your merchandise, and then they would ship it back to your resort. So you didn't have to lug it around all day long. And that policy was good. You could do that every day on your vacation unless it was the day before you were leaving, because it usually took till the next morning that you had to go up to the front desk to pick up your items. So that's something I definitely miss. I pray that Mr. Bob Chapek brings it back. I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever see it again, but it was very convenient too, because it always seemed that I remember one time, as soon as we got to Saratoga, we checked in, we walked across the bridge, and my wife wanted to go right to the Christmas store, and we picked up a couple things, and it was great. And I was like, oh, now I got to carry it around. No, I don't, because they shipped it right off to my room, and then the next day I picked it up. I don't know how many times I've walked into Magic Kingdom, and instead of going, taking your day and going throughout the attractions and going around the park, we make our way right into the Emporium, and then we get something, and it's like, well, now I'm going to have to lug it all the way around the park. Well, no, you didn't have to do that. They would send it right back to your hotel. And Walt, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you know this, that was for every resort, but if you were staying at the Grand Floridian, I believe at one time that perk they would put it back in your room. Am I right about that? I have heard that, but I've never had any confirmation on that.
Yes. Okay. And actually, early on when this first started, they would take it to your room.
Okay.
I've had that experience.
So
when I was the first time I was a DVC member, I do remember coming back to my room at Saratoga, and the merchandise was in the room.
That's cool.
That did change. I don't remember how fast that changed. I think it changed because of security issues, where they didn't want people coming in and out of your room on a regular basis. And then it ended up where they just left it at the front desk, and you would go to the front desk and pick it up. But then that may have changed because maybe it got to it became an issue at the front desk as well.
But yeah, that's
where stuff started to pile up. But I agree with you. That was a very nice perk, because you like you said, on a hot day, you didn't have to, especially if you bought an item that was a large item, you didn't have to carry it around with you all day long. Or if you wanted to go on a ride, now you didn't have to worry about bringing it on a ride. So,
especially like, Magic Kingdom, and, I always complain about it. I love the park. However, it takes forever to get out. So if you buy a large item, or you buy, you have several bags on you, you're waiting for the monorail, you're waiting for the ferry, you're waiting for the water taxi back. Yep. It was very convenient, and I hope Mr. Chapek decides to bring it back. But
they still have that though at Hollywood Studios with the droids.
Okay.
So if you build a droid, you can actually have the droid shipped to your house.
Oh, good.
Shipped home if you didn't want to carry it with you. So they do that directly from Hollywood Studios, because I've done that once, where I built a droid and I ended up having it shipped home instead of taking it back to the room with me.
And I'm assuming that's a fee, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you're paying a UPS
because we have done that.
They don't charge you an additional.
We have done that in Disney Springs because, like I said, my wife likes to go to the Christmas store, and then we buy the ornaments every year, and then she buys a couple, and then it's like, well, I'm not going to try and put them in the luggage, so we ship them off, and that's another great perk. I mean, granted, you're paying for it, but they take care of it after the fact. But the perk I was talking about was totally complimentary. Whatever you purchased each and every day, unless it was your last full day at Walt Disney World, they would bring it back to your resort, and by about 10 o'clock the next morning, it would be available for you to pick up. So that's what I miss.
Hey, let me, I know this is kind of off the cuff because we didn't talk about this earlier, but I wanted to really quick before we wrap up today, I wanted to bring this up because this is something that's in the news that just came out in the last couple of days, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. So the Beeline train, the Sunrail, that it was supposed to be going from Orlando International Airport and having a stop in Disney Springs has changed significantly. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
So like Walter said, over the last day now, they have been talking about it. One of the things that was brought up too when they canceled Magical Express is, well, don't worry about it. The train's going to eventually be coming from MCO, and it'll take you right to Disney Springs. Well, reports are now coming out that the Brightline train station will not be happening at Disney Springs. It will not be happening at all at Walt Disney World. So if you were banking on the train service from Orlando to Disney Springs, Walt Disney World, it doesn't look like it's happening. But if you're a Universal fan, you could take the train there once it's completed. Because Walt, correct me if I'm wrong, you read this as well. I guess Brightline wanted investment from Disney, from Universal. There was going to be a money exchange for the train station and, for the service. And basically, from what reports are coming out, is Disney wanted no part of it whatsoever. And guess who had their open arms ready? Universal. So,
yeah, Comcast definitely wrote the check for that without much issue. It looks that way anyway. But I think that it's a short-sighted move by Disney to not at least attempt to lobby to get an additional stop put into Disney Springs. I think that they became a little bit of a took a temper tantrum and decided, well, if we can't get our stop, then we're not going to be a part of this. I just don't see how that benefits them in any way, shape, or form, because now you're funneling tourists from the airport into the competitor's brand new park that they're going to be opening up soon. And that just makes zero business sense to me. And Kenny and I talked about this earlier. If you still had Magical Express operational, you could easily have a bus station at that train stop where you could have advertised that Magical Express will pick you up for free at the train station and drive you the 5-10 minute ride from there to your hotel at Disney World. So, or even if they just took you to Disney Springs and dropped you off there, and then you just made your way to wherever you wanted to go. But to not even have that option there, and to just say, oh, well, we're just not we're going to take our ball home and we're not playing anymore. It really makes no sense. So, I think Universal is going to make out in this.
I agree.
Again, is it going to impact Disney tremendously? Probably not. I mean, who knows? I'm not an economist, so I can't tell you one way or the other how much. I mean, of course, will it have some impact? Of course it will, because it's public transportation that people will be utilizing on their vacations. So to me, it's just short-sighted by Disney again, penny pinching and being egotistical instead of just taking the high road and coming up with a plan that will appease their customers and their fans without, it just, to me, like I said, it just doesn't make any sense that they made this decision. When you look at the numbers, I think it was I think Universal is guaranteeing a certain amount of tickets sold. I'm sure Disney wouldn't have any issue coming up with, ticket sales of people interested in going from the train station to Disney Springs. So,
but Walt, before we wrap, talking about this real quick, I just don't get it. You know what though? I think Disney doesn't care. Whatever they say no to, Universal says yes to. We talked about it briefly before the show, and we're not gonna dwell on it, but Disney is in the process of, I think, in my opinion only, making itself very exclusive for, people of, who can afford it. I think that's the way they're going. I think part of it is for crowd control, and I think they want to make their product as exclusive as possible. And I think so everything they do, Universal just trying to pick up everybody they can who gets disgruntled with Disney, who says, I can't afford Disney no more. I can't get annual passes. This is too expensive. There's park reservations now. And then Universal's like, well, we have all of that over here. You could just come here. We have annual passes. There's no park reservations. You could run wild. That's just my opinion. So until it starts hurting Disney in the pocket, nothing's going to change. And real quick, because I know we're going a little over, off the cuff, as of taping today, the board of directors unanimously gave Bob Chapek a 3-year contract extension. So if you were holding your breath thinking that there was going to be a miracle and he was going to be ousted as the chief executive officer, no. So again, because he makes them money, no matter how we, the fans, regard his decisions business-wise, for the shareholders, he's making them more money than they ever have. I know the stock market's been up and down right now, but so there you go. So they are very pleased with him. So Bob Chapek staying for another 3 more years.
Well, that just goes to show you that the universe is upside down.
So, Walt, you got anything else before we wrap up?
No, I think that's a good place to end it.
Yep, good show as always, Walt.
Yep, good to be back.
Yep.
I'm glad that
I'm very happy to be back.
Our technical issues were ironed out.
It was very awkward just doing solo. So, folks, that's going to wrap up this edition of the Disney Resorts Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. For Walt Ramirez, I'm Take care, everybody.